Okay, so here we have the result of the flipbook. I think in terms of the motion, it's looking quite nice. The look of the ink still needs some work. The first thing that comes to mind, of course, is the color. And also, if you remember the references, the look of the ink was quite dense. So let's try to fix this first. One thing I will do before we start fixing the color is add just a temporary light so we can see some shading. So let me stop the flipbook. Let's jump back out into the object context. And here under the light toolbar, let's look for a distant light. You can control click to create a light centered on your viewport. So turn on the lock camera icon and use the spacebar and the right button to zoom out. You can also use the spacebar and the middle button to pan, and the spacebar and the left mouse button to orbit around the ink, just to place the light in a nice angle. So once you've done that, turn off the lock camera and change the ortho mode to perspective. Okay, so now that we have this temp light, let's dive back into the ink geometry. Make sure the Pyrosolver node is selected and go to the sourcing tab. So we've been here before. We talked about the density. So one of our main components is the density. We're also copying the density into the temperature field. We mentioned we're also bringing in the velocity, but we still don't have the color. And if you remember our notes, we need to input the color information as well. So to do that, scroll up until you see the operations property and click here in the plus sign to add another field. Now we need to scroll down back again, and this new target field has been created. So the source volume, you may have guessed it, is going to be the CD volume. The target field will be the color as well, so type CD. And the operation we're going to use is blend. This will let us use a weight volume, in this case the density, and an alpha value as a transparency. So remember, this was created initially before we started simulating. Okay, so let's go back to frame 1, press play, and now you'll notice we have our colored smoke. Okay, so this is looking fine. The only thing is still the ink doesn't look quite dense. And the density we can add in several ways. One way would be to increase the input of our density here. For example, we could increase this to 10. Or another way to do this would be through the look or through the material of the volume. In this case, you could go to the Look tab and increase the density scale to 10. And now we're starting to have something much more similar to a reference. So let's run a few more frames. So now we're getting very nice shapes. The motion was also very good, as we saw in the flipbook. And I think the coloring is very nice as well.